Well, hey, podcast listeners. In episode 56 of the Pixar Post podcast, we're going to chat about the latest Pixar news, of course, from Coco to Disney's upcoming streaming service, goodbye Netflix, Cars 3 at the box office, and much, much more, including the continuation of the Ask Pixar Post segment. So, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And what do you say we get down to the news?
Let's do it.
Actually, that's not necessarily true. You know what we do first.
Dun, dun, dun.
Some trivia. So there's actually only one question today, unless you have one for me.
I did not plan ahead.
That's fine. We did this on a whim. So the question is, and make sure to give a second for those thinking that are listening along as well.
Okay.
Wall-E and R2-D2 from Star Wars have something in common. What is it?
Okay.
You think? Yeah?
They both had life-size creations done by fans.
No, but that is a true statement. Okay.
The sounds?
Expand on that, please.
The beeping noises?
Yes, you were very, very close. Would you think it would have anything to do with who created the beeping noises?
No.
Ben Burtt.
Oh, okay.
So Ben Burtt, the sound designer.
Oh, yes.
Did the voices, or provided the voices and noises for both Wall-E and R2-D2. So there you go. There's your fun fact for today.
Well, I kind of knew it.
You did. You were on the right track as far as the sound, for sure. All right, so let's talk about some overall film news. Then, of course, we're going to talk about Cars 3 and then tease what's upcoming based on your recent trip to Pixar to talk about Coco.
Yes.
But overall film news, the one thing I wanted to start off with was yesterday, so August 8th, the Walt Disney Company, and this is from their official press release, announced that it has agreed to acquire a majority ownership of BAMtech LLC and will launch its ESPN-branded multi-sport video streaming service in early 2018, followed by, and here's where it gets interesting, a new Disney-branded direct-to-consumer streaming service in 2019. So they now own, by doing this new acquisition, a 75% share in the company. So they're a majority shareholder, which means they're going to drive how that company is going.
Oh, of course.
So Iger said that this acquisition and the launch of the direct-to-consumer service marks an entirely new growth strategy for the company, one that takes advantage of the incredible opportunity that changing technology provides us to leverage the strength of our great brands. So, just to level set for one more little chunk of news on it. So, the new Disney-branded service will become the exclusive home in the U.S. for subscription video-on-demand viewing of the newest live-action and animated movies from Disney and Pixar, beginning with the 2019 theatrical slate, which includes Toy Story 4, the sequel to Frozen. I like how they're still not saying what that title is, just the sequel to Frozen. The Lion King from Disney Live Action, along with the other highly anticipated movies. Disney will also make significant investment in the annual slate of its original movies, TV shows, short-form content, and other Disney-branded exclusives for this service. So that's intriguing.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this.
Well, hang on. The feature also has a vast library of content, including Disney and Pixar movies from past, as well as Disney Channel, Disney Junior, and Disney XD. So with it as well, Disney will end its distribution agreement with Netflix, which, like I said earlier, goodbye Netflix. They basically signed that deal like a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that. So, and then 2019 is when that, I mean, we still got a while, obviously, until it's going to remain on there. And something could potentially change. But what are your thoughts here?
Okay, so I would actually pay more for a Disney subscription service, kind of like a Netflix.
Okay.
If we are guaranteed to have the classic Disney cartoons able to stream wherever. Stream and download to a device.
Call it done.
The classic ones.
You are right, because that is something that is massively suffering, is that all of our favorites from a kid till now, when we watch all those, if we think about...
The Donald ones, the Chip and Dale ones, I will pay.
You're right.
Like Netflix and Hulu, like we have.
Because it's not even on, they had that awesome series that they released of all the different characters, I don't remember what the Storybook Collection, I think so. Whatever it was called. But they were only on DVD, never on Blu-ray, and they were never digital. They're only on physical disc.
And this is the digital. We only have things on digital now, So.
This should be the entire catalog.
It should. Especially the, backlog of all those classic cartoons.
Oh, man.
I will pay. And we had talked about it earlier, like, oh my gosh, we're going to probably have to pay for this service. Would we do it? Because we already own all the films. We own a lot of them digitally.
Right.
But I will pay to have the classic cartoons.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that a lot because the first thing I was going to talk about was how I'm actually kind of bummed because the whole purpose of this movement to move away from traditional cable providers or satellite providers is that it saves you money.
Right.
We have done that.
Yes.
And the unfortunate thing is now we have a streaming service of PlayStation Vue. Then you have Netflix and you have Hulu. Now if you add a Disney service in there, you've got a subscription service in like Apple Music or Spotify, whatever you subscribe to. Mm-hmm. Now essentially you're getting so piecemealed. Forget the music side of it because that wouldn't factor into a satellite or cable provider, but you're going to be back to what you were paying.
Yeah.
So
depending on what the price would be, the price is probably going to be $25, I would say.
$25 a month?
25, I think.
I actually thought 19, like straight.
Okay. See, I think it's going to be between. I'll even say 15 to 25 because I think they'll charge you more if you want the Disney Junior access, Disney Channel access.
So I think it's got to be tiered because they can't expect everybody just to jump in at $20 a month. Mm-hmm. But interestingly, in the ESPN side of it, they talk about the fact that...
Oh, you're right. The sports
side, but that's a separate app. But if they talk about that if you are a traditional cable subscriber, you can still log in like you can currently for like accessing the Disney Junior app on their website or whatever. So I'm kind of intrigued if they're still going to say, well, wait a minute, you can still access Disney Junior and all this if you have a traditional, but then you pay extra and you also get access to the movies.
Yeah. Well, we'll have.
Or if that's the tiered thing.
See, I guess.
Yeah, 2019. Hold on.
It's going to be here before you know it, because that's when the Star Wars land opens up.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's really just like a year and a half away.
Yeah. But I'm very intrigued by this. It is annoying in the sense that if you do have a cable provider or dish or whatever, again, the thing that's convenient about it is you just have one remote and you go to one thing. You just go to your guide or your DVR, and now you're all going into all these apps. And
yeah, but you know what?
It gets a little fragmented, but it helps having the Roku to pool them together.
It does, because we have the Roku. We used to have Apple TV, and now we have the Roku. But I thought it was kind of a pain, like long ago, when we started this like over a year ago. Mm-hmm. I love it now. It's just so easy.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I didn't even give you a choice. I was just like, we're doing it.
Yeah. Now, granted, when my mom comes over to babysit,
oh goodness,
she needs like a manual to watch a show.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a little easier now than it was before. Because before we were always changing services too. Because we've tried every one. We've had Sling. Yeah, and then PlayStation Vue, and then there was something else in there, wasn't there?
There was something else.
We were going to do YouTube TV, but they need to get their act together and get a Roku app. Because I don't have a Chromecast, and I'm not buying a special device just to use YouTube TV. We're getting off topic here. All right, so anyways, that's that news. We're going to end up putting this in a post because it was announced yesterday, but just wanted to talk about it because I thought it was interesting, especially with the whole Netflix connection, and it's getting further and further away from me wanting to continue that subscription.
No, we're skipping Netflix.
All right. All right, so let's talk some Cars 3 now. What do you say?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so there's a couple things that I wanted to dive into. One that I'm mildly bummed about, another one that I'm perplexed about, and one that I'm happy about.
Okay.
All right. So the mildly bummed is I love using the Waze app.
Yes.
So this is, for anybody that doesn't know, it's essentially a crowdsourced traffic and GPS system. So we've heard that actually like Google Maps, when they have their traffic data, is actually sourcing it from Waze and paying them for it. So it's a fantastic driving app that if you don't use, you should check it out. Now here's the thing. I never had used it. Until they came out with a version of it that had Cars 3. So what it was is your car that's on your map could either be Lightning McQueen or Jackson Storm. And they had the actual actors do the voices for the turn directions.
Yeah, Armie Hammer or Owen Wilson.
Yes, it was so awesome.
It really was awesome, and it's funny because our son, every time we'd turn on the car, he'd be like, "Turn left, newbie."
So there's a part where Jackson Storm, whenever you turn left, he says, "Turn left, newbie." He is essentially, he's treating you like he would Lightning McQueen, like anybody else, like a rookie. Like when you get started, he's like, "All right, you ready to get driving, rookie? At least you're not that Lightning McQueen guy." So, anyways.
Yeah, he would just love it and say it, and then all of a sudden, it's gone.
Yeah. So the first thing they got rid of probably a month and a half ago was the voices.
Right.
With an update. You could still keep the cars. And I'm like, okay, maybe they only had a temporary deal for the voices and the cars are just going to stay. Because what harm is it just to keep a car in there?
Yeah, car avatar.
Yeah. And I'm like, this will be perfect. I can still live. Then they got rid of Lightning McQueen and Jackson Storm. And now I have to drive with some generic car. I went from Lightning McQueen and Jackson Storm, and I would alternate. Like a week I'd be Jackson Storm, and the next week I'd be Lightning McQueen.
You do that with all of them.
Loved it. I loved it. Mm-hmm. They did introduce one thing, though, which I will give them credit for, which you can now record your own voice for turn directions. And we had our son record the line, "Turn left, newbie," so he can record and hear himself still saying it, so he loves it.
Yeah.
But I'm very disappointed by that.
I know. It was really cool.
It was. And it
was a cool integration.
Very cool and very deep integration. I'm very bummed. I intended to do a video on it and waited too long. But I mean, I wasn't going to do it later anyways. Yeah. I just ran out of time. But yeah, so anyways, if you haven't used it, check it out. It's a great app. It got me totally integrated into the system now, and now I love it. So I guess it worked.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to talk about, and this one is perplexing me. I've spent a lot of time scratching my head on this, is the box office totals for Cars 3. And this is not only perplexing, but disturbing. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I'm bummed.
I'm bummed, too.
I don't understand, and I need somebody to explain to me what's going on. But I have some things that I've looked into, and I've tried to break it down a little bit. So, let's talk about it. So, currently, right now, Cars has been in the theater as of August 9th when we're recording this for 54 days. So, the domestic total on that, I'm rounding everything, is $148 million. Foreign is $139 million. So just call that a total $286.5 million. Okay. 286. So what I don't understand is there's still really only some foreign markets that are either just opening or they're like France is just opening, and they've done some decent numbers in the past for previous Cars movies. So like the first Cars, they did 14 million. In Cars 2, they did 27.5 million in France. So there's a trend there. Obviously, the world racing aspect of it did well in other countries. So there's still some meat on the bone that's going to add to that total of the 286.5 million. It's not over yet. So I want to stress that. But I still don't get it. I don't get how it's so low. So let's look at some of the other movies. So the first Cars. So 244 million domestic, 218 million foreign, a total of 462 million. So 462 versus 286 right now. That's not factoring in 11 years of inflation of movie tickets.
Right.
That film, Cars, was in the theater for 133 days.
Okay.
So we're at 54 for Cars 3. So you still got some time.
Yeah, almost half.
But you're not going to see clearly the bulk of that is made at the beginning and then it slows way down. Cars 2, 191 domestic, 370 million foreign, a total of 562. So it made 100 million more than Cars 1. So now we're talking about a larger sizable gap, 286 to 562 million. The foreign on Cars 2 was led by Japan, France, Mexico, and the UK in that order. And it was in theaters for 175 days, much longer.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how they factor all that in. I'm sure that's probably as it trickles into tiny theaters and it's one local theater and all those kind of things. But regardless, 175 days. So to also add so that's against the other Cars movies. Now, The Good Dinosaur, which I also have a pain in my heart saying that it was their lowest grossing film. Some film has to be the lowest.
Right.
Law of numbers, something's on top, something's on bottom. But The Good Dinosaur netted 123 million domestically. So we're talking again 123 million domestically for Good Dinosaur. Cars 3 is currently at 148. So Cars 3 is above it, but worldwide. So foreign was 209 for The Good Dinosaur. Right now we're at foreign 139 for Cars 3. So there's still like a 70 million gap there, and then total was 332 million, and again Cars 3 is 286.5. So first things first, do you think that Cars 3 worldwide will land above The Good Dinosaur?
With really only France just opening and most other major, I don't think so.
So consider. Let's just estimate France at the first Cars was 14 million. Second one was 27. Let's just call it 20.
Okay.
So if you get 20 million, that puts you at 306 million for Cars. Good Dino again 332.
Well, I guess it would have to gross like 50 million
to go. Yeah.
And another 100 days.
Mm-hmm.
Like 80 days.
Yeah, 80 days exactly. Yeah. I think it can do it.
I think it could do it, but I think it's hard, and it's crazy because I really, really enjoyed Cars 3.
I know, and that's what I don't get, and that's what. So
it was a great story. I think it had great characters. I don't get it. And it's funny because the merchandise sells like crazy.
Right.
So it's popular.
Well, clearly, yeah. I mean, it's always been their top grossing franchise for merchandise, the Cars franchise. Mm-hmm. So I went multiple layers deep here.
Oh.
So I started looking at our stats for our site.
Okay.
As far as how many hits did we... Because you'll see a spike when there's a movie coming out.
Of course.
No surprise.
Of course.
I started looking at June of last year versus June of this year versus June the year before.
Okay.
Now, the thing to consider too is over the last several years, we've gained more fans. So it's not a 1-to-1 ratio because it's a upward to the right trend in general.
Right.
But as far as the pattern of the spike, which is something that you can rely on even across different companies that have different financials in the stock market.
Yeah.
So you can look at, again, the pattern of what's happening. It's exactly the same. And the margin that it increases is the same. So we're getting the same equivalency of interest on our site of people looking at posts about that movie. Mm-hmm. So the interest is the same from at least our site's perspective. That's a minuscule perspective in terms of the internet and in terms of everything else. But in terms of popularity on our site, it still is, I would say, on par with the movies that have come out in the past. Inside Out saw a slightly increased spike.
Yeah, I was going to say because there was quite a bit with Inside Out. But it's interesting, though.
So Rotten Tomatoes, Cars, critics gave it a 74%, audience, and this is Cars 1.
Okay.
Critics 74% favorable, audience 79. Cars
Really?
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Cars 2, critics 39, audience is 50. Cars 3, critics 68, audience 72. So Cars 1 is the highest, Cars 3 is the second, Cars 2 third. Those are all via...
that's how I would rate them myself as well. In order.
1, 3, 2? Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
I just liked it better than 70%.
I agree 100%. 100%. Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I agree. There's also tons of promotion for Cars 3.
I know.
The TV spots, the correlation with NASCAR, there was way more coverage. I did get a little bit of fatigue from it because so much of it was similar. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it was over coverage. So then,
but see, what's crazy is the Toy Story franchise.
It went up, up, up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
did Cars 2 jolt it so much, the franchise, that Cars 3 couldn't recover?
Maybe. I think people who aren't, I guess, not diehard Pixar fans, but just like fans of the studio. Just either they saw or they heard, Cars 2 wasn't that great. I like it. I take it for a different way. As than people saying, oh, why didn't Cars 3 pick up where Cars 2 left off? It's a totally different story to me. I don't know.
All right, so let's go one more layer deep.
Oh, great.
I did some investigation
Hold on to your
here.
hat.
Well, there was an article yesterday in the latest issue of Variety magazine.
Okay.
And by the way, if you want any of these references or links that we're talking about, of course, you can go to our website, pixarpost.com. Like I always talk about, go to the podcast button. And again, this is episode 56. If you click that, it'll give you the show notes where you can click through and read this as well. So I'm going to read a section of this too.
Okay. Because
another known factor that has been happening this year in cinemas is that the 2017 summer box office has been a slump across the board. So here's again from the Variety article. All along the movie business food chain, from the studios that make the films to the companies that bring them to consumers, it's been a summer of heck. I'll change that. Yeah. Flops such as King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, and Baywatch are dragging down the box office. Ticket sales are down 10.8% so far this summer and are off nearly 3% year to date. Theatrical revenues are expected to fall through the next 2 months. Over the weekend, the top grossing new release, The Dark Tower, opened to less than $20 million. During the same weekend a year ago, Suicide Squad kicked off to $134 million. The summer is supposed to be the most profitable time of the year for the studios, but in 2017, they can't wait to put their swim trunks in mothballs.
Wow. So
across the board, it's also an industry trend. And obviously that article being just from yesterday is quite current.
Yeah. And I wonder if a lot of studios are holding back stuff for the winter, Thanksgiving.
But summer is supposed to be the big one.
I know, but still, in
this winter,
time still.
This winter, you're going to already have a bonus in the terms of Star Wars, which is clearly going to be
right, and Coco.
Right, yeah. You've got other things that are going to be box office smashes. So an analyst in that article later goes on to talk about that Hollywood is relying too heavily on sequels, as well as remakes. Like Baywatch is kind of like a remake of a TV show, and then the sequels standpoint. Also, they'd reference the impact of high-quality programming on Netflix, which is very viral, like Stranger Things, which is not happening as much regarding movies.
And they're doing actual movies. Like Netflix did that one where it's like a pig.
Oh, right, exactly.
And that's a full film only on Netflix.
So there's things that are happening
Netflix,
and shifting.
Amazon, Hulu.
Right. It's setting that tone for the other conversation that's going on in Hollywood about should you release a movie in home the exact same time it's available in theaters.
Yes.
It would cost you a ton more money.
We would do it. Having a young child going to a movie theater is hard.
Very hard. So I would definitely see more movies. But the thing is, it's like they said it's going to be probably like $40-$50 to watch a movie.
If it was $40, I would consider it.
I would too, because then you don't have to go out to dinner. You don't have to get a babysitter or somebody to watch the kid. You don't go out. Yeah,
it would be easier to consider $50
for people in the city for sure. You don't have to park. Like a lot of times they have to pay for parking if they go places. You don't have to take like a cab downtown. We don't obviously have that, but then the other factor is that where movie studios don't want to do it is they're like, you can invite 10 people over your house.
That's true.
And everybody pays $4.
I know that is true too.
Right. And you don't get the same experience.
No, and I love going to the movie theater. There's never going to be a time where I would prefer to, but having a young child,
it makes it
easier that we could just go downstairs at 11 o'clock at night and watch the movie that's in the theater that was just released.
The one thing I don't like about it though, like the biggest thing for me, is that you're in your home. There are so many more potential distractions.
Yes.
When we're watching a movie on the couch, if we rent something or something like that, and your phone's like, brr, 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 we most likely are going to pick it up.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
If you're in the theater,
and I might fall asleep.
And you could fall asleep. Yeah, in the theater, that's not going to happen. You don't get like that. I always talk about, because I always freak out about the surround sound.
Yeah.
And how that is with, everything. And I went and saw Cars 3, in 4 different times so that way I could get it in regular 3D, Atmos, all those kind of things. And then IMAX.
And you don't get the popcorn.
Not the
the
same way.
$20 popcorn that's so delicious.
Yeah, not the same, for sure. And then, but the other thing you also don't get is when I saw Cars 3 in IMAX, the lady in front of me, so I'll tell this little story. The lady sitting directly in the section in front of me, it's an IMAX theater where you pick your seats. I'm like, perfect. Right, a couple rows once you get past like the midpoint, middle of the row. I'm gonna enjoy. I'm there by myself. I'm gonna totally just take it all in. I've got my notepad to write down notes as I watch it for the third time. And she's got her phone out. She's with her husband and 2 daughters, and I can, the light is directly through the crack of the seats, right in my eye. And I'm like, okay, it's previews. I'm not gonna sweat it. It's on during Lou. I'm like, getting more irritated, but I'll still let it go because it's a short and the film has not started. Cars 3 kicks off. 30 seconds in, I'm like, okay, she might be wrapping up a text. I'm really giving her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, at this point, I'm like, lose six plus minutes, previews, everything else. So I cracked. So I leaned forward, I grabbed her shoulder, and I said, either get out of here or turn it off. Very calmly.
Yeah, I remember you telling me.
And she goes, okay, I'll turn it off. But it's like, I shouldn't have to say that. I know she's thinking, I'm here with my daughters. Who cares? It's their movie probably. She's probably one of the adults that just think like, it's a kid's movie. Ugh.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of that today when I went to the movie theater.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because you went and saw a re-release of Aladdin.
Yes.
But it just, like, I shouldn't have to do that either. That's where the home's appealing. There's no perfect place. Because other people are going to ruin your experience in the theater. Somebody that walks in 10 minutes late. Somebody that's on their phone.
Or when you tried to see Cars 3 in IMAX before, but the screen was down.
Yes.
Remember, it was like 2 days before, or the day before, so you had to go the next day.
Yes, it was like the early showing on Wednesday or whatever, Thursday. When it was the very first day it was released, but the evening before.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, we can't show it to you in the IMAX tonight.
The projector went after work or something.
The projector went down. We have to reset it, but we can't do it overnight. It's got to be recalibrated, so we're not allowed to let anybody see it if it doesn't meet their standards. So I had to go back and see it another day because I'm like, I got to see it in IMAX, which I talked about, so I don't need to get into that again. And I didn't tell that story of the lady, I don't think, last time.
No, you didn't.
So, but yeah, so with other media at high qualities in other places, Netflix, HBO with Game of Thrones, there's only so many hours a day people can consume media.
Yes.
So is it other quality media at home that's distracting from going to the theater? Is it the sequels? Is it something else? Because from our end, the stats were the same. From Rotten Tomatoes' standpoint, the ratings were higher for Cars 3 than Cars 2.
Could it be that they should just go back to maybe one film a year?
For
the studio?
For Pixar?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a possibility, but we're talking about now where the industry as a whole is feeling some of that. So anyways, obviously we're not going to have that answer. There are many, many variables at play here, a word that I say a lot. So who knows? But
interesting though.
But are people tired of McQueen, or is it the slump of 2017?
Ooh, it's a little limerick right there.
Perfect. So, and then what's next for Cars? Is it shorts?
I do think they need to continue with the shorts because I do think they're cute. It's been a long time since...
A long time.
They've come out with ones. But I'd like to see the continuation of the MU shorts.
I know.
With
Party Central.
I really enjoyed Party Central, and I just think that there's a lot with those characters that they can continue on. Mm-hmm. I think that's fun. I think I would like to see maybe that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed any of the shorts. It's a fun way to still get a taste of the characters. I think my favorite...
Just like Toy Story. It's been a long time since we've seen a Toy Story tune as well.
Yeah, we got spoiled because there was Toy Story tunes with Partysaurus Rex, Hawaiian Vacation...
Small Fry,
yeah. And then you've got the TV specials they had.
2 TV specials.
I mean, that was... Like, literally, I felt like it was like such a gift to be able to have those characters get little snippets and tastes of... like they're seeing them again. Mm-hmm. And it feels like it's, because of like the 2 times a year, I feel like that if you do 2 films in a year, that doesn't allow them to do those extra things to keep either the name in front of you or other things. But also, were they potentially diluting the brand?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's so many things that we can talk about. I mean, obviously, we can only speculate. We can't ask everybody.
Yeah.
We could eventually take a poll on it, but anybody that's on our site is going to be totally biased because they're a Pixar fan.
Right.
So there's things that we wouldn't be able to do without going to a broader scale. But I do miss the shorts, and I do hope that they continue Cars into other shorts because
I think they will.
Those were fun. Not necessarily just the Mater's Tall Tales, but even the Shorty shorts were a fun thing. They were planning other ones like To Protect and Serve. There was things like that. So there's still stuff that could be done with it, and I hope that between Cars 2 and Cars 3 it doesn't tarnish their want or will to keep these characters out there.
Yeah.
Obviously the merchandise is going to help them continue to want to keep it out there. But I'll be interested to see what else comes from the merchandise sales from Mattel's side as well.
Right, with Cars 3.
Yeah, because they're going to start reporting earnings and all that kind of stuff, so we'll see if they had a spike with the release. Anyways.
I know they did from us. I think we bought everything. Just about.
Yeah, and can Mattel just please cut it out with the whole releasing one car in a set of 10 other cars that I already have?
I know.
It's really, really killing me, and it sours it.
I know.
It totally sours it for me because I just get angry, and half the time it makes me just want to say I'm done, and I need that to go away because it needs to be fun.
Yeah.
It needs to be fun, and I don't need 17 versions of Lightning McQueen.
Right.
I have like 400 already.
I know.
I don't need 17 more in the first wave. So, anyways, that's a whole side rant. But I will say, rants aside, holy cow, the Cars 3 line is awesome.
Amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing. Especially now with the
Derby
crazy,
characters coming out.
Characters that are coming out.
God, they're so cool.
I can't wait.
I know. They're just hitting stores now in the different cases.
Yeah.
Did you see the Mrs. Fritter that they?
Yeah, they fixed
the stop sign to not be an octagon to actually be just the saw blade.
Yeah,
I was
we
like,
have to get
come
that
on.
one. I know.
I'm looking at the other one right over here right now.
Yeah.
Now I got to get another version of that, but that's okay. That's acceptable.
Yeah.
I can handle more Mrs. Fritters in my life.
And we do have quite a few.
So, all right, we sidetrack. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about was actually the Blu-ray for Cars 3. Mm-hmm. So as of June, so right when the movie came out, of course all the distributors start popping on immediately. Like Best Buy put a listing on the
Target,
day of. So
Amazon.
Yeah, they have like the listings that you can pre-order it. I saw it on Vudu, and if you pre-order it, you can already immediately get the shorty shorts. Like, so they have some like incentives already. But Brittany in the forum spotted just today another site that listed what appear to be the covers. Mm-hmm. So Best Buy had temporary artwork that was no way it was the covers. This appears to actually be the covers. So again, if you want to check these out, just check out the show notes. Again, episode 56. But the release date on that site says December 31st, and I'm calling hogwash on that.
It's always wrong whenever they do December 31st. Because they always say December 31st. I'm like, no.
And there's no way that Disney or Pixar is going to miss the Christmas holiday to get that in front of people. It's always been in the October-November timeframe for June releases from the theater.
It'll be before Black Friday, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So anyways, thought that was kind of interesting and cool. The cover art is pretty neat if it is the official, but it darn looks like it.
I'll have to check it out.
Because normally they have like a border.
Yeah.
Or something. There's one where like the front of Lightning McQueen is overlaying the border to make it look like he's driving like fast off the side of the case. It's really cool. And then our friend Luis from Pixar Brazil blog actually I was talking to him about it tonight, and he mentioned that he goes, do you think they're going to have the Ultimate Collector's Edition? Because Best Buy, this other site, nobody has the Ultimate Collector's Edition, which is the one that has like the digital, the 3D Blu-ray, the Blu-ray, the DVD, like it has everything. So there hasn't been a listing for that yet. So it'll be interesting to see if they're continuing that.
Do people even buy the 3D? I mean,
I mean, we have, unfortunately, because it's the Ultimate Collector's Edition, we feel like we have to have the Ultimate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see if they do, and then it might continue the trend of less, like because they're re-releasing all the artwork. Again, as we've seen, where it's just one character versus like the movie poster,
Right. Yes.
and so like Cars is coming out again, and that's just when they re-release
Lightning
them.
McQueen.
It's just the digital and Blu-ray. It's not the DVD. So they take that out of that when they re-release them. So it's scaled back. So maybe the Ultimate Collector's Edition is going away. They could be like the Wizard of Oz thing, where they released a separate version for the 3D one and a separate version for the... Yeah, interesting. All right, you want to talk about something else?
Yes.
All right, let's talk about some more, because Coco has a bunch that we can expect to be coming on this podcast in the coming weeks. And can you explain why that may be?
We were invited out to the Coco Press Days.
Yes.
And it was my turn to go.
Yes.
And
I was very jealous. August 3rd and 4th, so just last Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, just last week. And it was amazing. I can't say much.
Like all of them, there's a date when we can first start talking about it.
Yep.
And we were not going to even say when that date is at this point, but more will be forthcoming.
Yes. But I will say I did some great interviews.
You were very excited about them.
I was very excited about my interviews because I was very nervous with who I was talking to, which I won't tell you guys who I spoke with.
Lots of teasing going on here.
Yeah, I can't say much.
Oh, I understand.
But gosh, you guys.
There's some cool stuff, some cool insights.
Yeah. I'm really excited for Coco.
Mm-hmm. And
I am jazzed about Coco.
If you've seen the trailers, I mean, you've seen what the look of the film will be.
Yeah. You see in the trailers, you know it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes, you'll hear more. You'll hear more from me soon.
Mm-hmm. So your excursion, though, was August 3rd and 4th. You flew out on the morning of the 3rd.
Yes. I left Michigan at like 8 o'clock.
In the morning.
Yeah. Arrived in San Francisco at 10:30 a.m.
Right. 5-ish, 4.5 hour flight, 3 hour gain in time.
Spent the day walking around the city.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to Pixar that evening.
And then the next day you had the second portion, and then flew back that night. So your flight was at 11 p.m.?
Yes, 11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Mm-hmm. And then I arrived in Michigan at 6:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And I can't sleep on an airplane.
Well, it was also very turbulent.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yes.
Flew into a storm.
Yeah. But so what was interesting about that is, since it is such a whirlwind, you came home and just crashed.
I did. And it's funny because I had been up for like 30 plus hours by this time. Because the whole time change, I woke up at 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
that second day, to go to Pixar. Like, I woke up at 3 a.m.
Oh, right. Yeah.
When it was the full press day or whatever, and I couldn't go back to sleep because that's technically like our 6 a.m. here. And that's normally when between 6 and 7 is when I wake up. So it's like I was up. Yeah. I couldn't go back to sleep.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
it was a whirlwind. So you crashed, slept most of Saturday away.
Yeah.
And then I finally got to talk to you about your trip on Sunday.
Yes.
Just kidding. We, of course, have talked about it every night throughout the event. And then when we were driving home, in fact, when you walked in this room to record our podcast, you said, "Hey, wait, did I even tell you about this part?"
Yeah, there's still more that's coming out.
Yeah, there's so much.
And it will, and I really can't wait to share it all with you guys. Mm-hmm. So it's soon, just not yet.
Yep. So when you were there, I was very excited because on Friday the 4th, a new international trailer was released.
Yes.
So it was all in Spanish. So I'm going to read the text of what's said in it for anybody that might not speak Spanish or read Spanish, if you were reading some of the text that was on the screen as well. So it essentially says, in every family, there's always someone different than the rest, is what the words say, smattered in between. So it starts out with Miguel saying, "Hurry up, Dante," where they're running into the little, like, hidden attic-y area where you see him playing guitar in the other ones. And then it's a moment where he's celebrating with his family, jumping up and down on top of a roof, saying, "I know it's bad that I love music." This is Miguel saying this to his family, but it's not my fault. Music runs through my veins. I'm gonna be a musician, and he's like just excited and everything. And of course, his grandma says, musicians are selfish and irresponsible. No more music. And then his grandma's going around telling everybody, no music, no music. It's going on and on. Then they go into the land of the dead, and I'll stop right there and just at least say, if you haven't seen this and you're avoiding spoilers, you're going to want to skip ahead at least a minute. Because the next part is where he talks about, and I'll give you one more second in case you're fumbling to find the forward button there. It's in the trailer, though, so you've probably seen it if you're listening to this. But they talk about the fact that he's now in the land of the dead. The Day of the Dead has begun, and he starts to look at his finger, and he says, look, your finger, I'm turning into a skeleton. So then they say, you have to get back before sunrise. I'll help you. And it's interesting that element is in there. So I'll the rest of it, if you want to read it, it's all translated. Thank you to Luis, one of our forum users, not Luis from Pixar Brazil blog that I just talked about, different Luis. But yeah, so he translated all this, and then it ended up going over to DVD Dizzy, and they added in some other lines as well. But so let's talk about one of that aspect of the finger turning into a skeleton. That intrigues me. I know that it's a time running out thing. But what I was wondering is they say we have to get you back before sunrise. So there's either a rule that they know of in this land of the dead that they're just told this, and they just know it at some point. Like, if you get here, you have to get out of here by sunrise. So that part was confusing to me. Like, how would they know that unless they're told that rule? And does that mean that this has happened before? That someone alive has come to the land of the dead and they maybe didn't get out by sunrise, and that's how they pieced it together?
So this is where I cannot talk.
Of course, but that part intrigued me.
It is very intriguing.
Yes.
And it's very, very interesting. The answers you seek.
We'll find out on November 22nd?
Yes.
All right, great. Also, forum user Brendan talked about how great the lip sync is, even though it's in Spanish. And it's almost like they made this for it. There's only a couple spots that when you watch it that you're like, wow, that didn't match up there. But the rest of it, it's like it was made for it.
Yeah, there's actually really, really good insight that I will share.
Okay, cool. So
about that.
I don't think you've talked to me about this yet.
Yeah, about that.
This is very troubling.
I know.
But
Soon.
Yeah, I just can't imagine that they would have time to re-render everything if they're going to do a voice sync. So I mean, that would be an enormous amount of time. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by that, and Brendan obviously saw that too. So that was pretty cool. In addition to that international trailer, there was a new TV spot that was aired on the Disney Channel that says, it starts out where it says, Coco is music, family, magic. And then there's a little extra moment where, if you've seen the other trailers, there's, we're your family. The guy he's like the accountant, he's got the green brim, like the clear green brim, and you could see him like with like the adding machine going like, and you can hear the ticker tape going and everything.
The Department of Family Affairs.
Exactly. Where he says in there, he notes that Miguel can't have Dante in there because he says he's allergic. The accountant guy, He's like, you can't have that around me. I'm allergic. And Miguel says, why not? He doesn't have any hair. And the skeleton says, well, I don't have a nose, and here we are. And then he sneezes, and it's an awesome sneeze because it's crazy to think, like, why would a skeleton sneeze?
Right.
So it's so fun. I'm gonna love all these like playing with things between being alive and between being in the land of the dead.
You're right.
That's going to be fun to be able to have those things play, because they're going to be able to do other things. Like we see Hector in that TV spot, like burst apart and go, like his bottom half goes below something and his upper half goes above, and then it comes back together. It's going to be fun seeing what they can do in the land of the dead. It's almost like they're going to have additional skills but I wonder what their limitations are going to be too. Oh my God, I want to know this movie so bad.
I know.
I'm so intrigued. So, here's something else that I think that you'll find interesting.
Okay.
That you will be able to talk about because it has nothing to do with the movie.
Okay,
so,
good, because I'm like sweating it here. Like I can't even say anything. I'm just trying to like just say.
Good thing this is edited in case we made a mistake.
I know, but still, just it just causes me stress.
I know. So at the end of any TV spot or trailer, they often will say, "From the creators of Toy Story and Finding Dory."
Yeah.
So when they say those kind of things, how do they pick which ones they put in front of which movie? I have a theory, but what do you think? Because they're different for different movies. They're different.
I think tied to the director-producer, possibly.
Okay. So Darla Anderson and Lee Unkrich were not involved with Dory.
No, but they were with Toy Story 3.
But not Toy Story 1, and they say it's the logo is for Toy Story 1.
Oh. I don't know then.
Okay. So my first thought was that they pick one classic and one newer that's done very well for them at the theater.
Oh, you're right. That's probably...
So that was my first thought. And then I thought, do they look at the theme of the movie and tie that in? So this Dory is about family.
Yes.
This is about family. So do they do that? And then like Toy Story, although it's not about family, but it's like a big cast, kind of how this is.
I don't know.
But I'm intrigued by that. I wonder if there's like big...
It's got to be the marketing team that...
I'm sure it is, but I wonder if there's big debates about that. Like, Are they like, no, it should be WALL-E, or no, it should be this, or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some math analytics involved, probably, or not. It could just someone be like, oh, well, let's do this and this. Mm-hmm. And do they change depending on if it's a trailer or if it's like a TV spot?
They do, because I've seen that in Cars. Sometimes it'll say like, for this most recent one, sometimes it'll say like from this and this.
Inside Out. And
the next one will be slightly different. Yeah. But it really makes me wonder, and I want to be in one of those meetings to be like, hey,
why this one?
What are we thinking about here and why?
Yeah.
Why would we pick this? So I think it's like an older classic one and a newer loved one.
Yeah, why aren't you doing Bug's Life?
Compared with the type of movie. Yeah. Right, exactly.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. Just something to...
Yeah, that's a good little topic right there.
Something to ponder on. So also there was a new international poster that was released. If you haven't seen that, check out the show notes. Yes, it's so cool.
That's an awesome poster.
It is. It's a lot of fun. I love we talk about it in the post that we wrote, that we love the ones that are like big cast of characters.
Yes.
Where it has all of like a support staff kind of surrounded around one of the main characters. We really like those. Mm-hmm. They tend to be fun.
I just love how it's a poster and they're all working together on both sides of, living and not living.
Right. Yeah. So they've got the skeletal and then the people in the flesh that are still alive. The other thing I found interesting that I talk about in the post too, they're all smiling while Miguel is playing a guitar. So is this just a marketing piece? And I think that's what it ultimately is, where it would be weird to show everybody like stern. Or is this near the end of the movie and they've gotten him to accept... He's gotten his family to accept music again, and now they're happy that he's playing it.
I don't know.
I know. And you probably really don't know that, but I'm interested in that too. I feel like it's a marketing thing, realistically, like first and foremost. Because if I think about like the Finding Dory poster, you've got Bruce, and everybody's all smiling in it. Now, Bruce is smiling in general. Hello.
Yeah, because he's smiling at the end.
Right. So, I mean, like, I wonder, though.
I can't say anything.
It's multiple layers, and I love it. I love all this before the movie stuff because you just have to keep speculating. Mm-hmm. And everything I see, I way overanalyze. Because I'm trying to find any little piece.
I told you, I did too. Mm-hmm. I analyzed a character, and I still think I might be correct. I can't tell you, but...
Yeah. So... also, in addition to the international poster, some books and other products are showing up as well. So the books that are popping up on Amazon, the thing that I found interesting here is that the first group hits on October 10th. You just wrote this post yesterday.
Yes.
So October 10th.
There's a ton.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's about what's normal. In fact, this is actually a little less than it has been for Inside Out, Finding Dory, or Cars 3 for the initial release. Now, granted, they could still add more to this.
Right.
And they usually do. More will continue to get added to that list that's on Amazon, and we'll update the post of every book that's coming out. So if you want to see that, again, go to the show notes. And
there's really no cover art yet.
Right, so we'll update it with some of that. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting, though, is October 10th, again, the release. This is earlier than other releases that have been done before. So...
Yeah, but what's the date that it releases down in Mexico?
Yeah, you're on the same page. Typically, it's 1 month before. So, like Cars, they released like it was June, like mid-June for the movie. The books were like
May.
Yeah, the second week of May. So it was
there was
like right in there.
a couple in April, but
yeah, but real early ones. And then Coco in the United States is November 27th and October 27th in Mexico.
No, November 22nd, you meant.
What did I say?
27th, because you were saying October 27th.
There you go. So yes, November 22nd in the U.S. and October 27th in Mexico.
Which would make sense to release everything on the 10th, especially Amazon, because Amazon goes
you got to get it out before it hits. Well, you don't have to get it out.
You don't have to.
I never understood why the books are so early.
I don't know.
I guess this is just...
Instead of releasing on the day of?
Yeah. Well, I know why they don't do it on the day of. The same reason they don't... Because when we went to buy all the cars on the first day, they were like, oh, we're not stocked yet.
Oh, yeah.
So get it out before that, so that way everybody's stocked and has them in hand. But anyways, I still think that's interesting, because then your movie, the plot, is usually out there.
That's true.
So, okay, I'm going to sidebar us again, but it's another one of those things that I want to talk about. So, releasing early in Mexico, we haven't talked about it on the podcast yet, I don't think.
I don't think so either.
What do you think about it?
I love it. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I love it even more after attending the press days, which I'll explain later.
Yep, don't talk about it.
But I love it. I think it's a wonderful, special thing that the team is doing.
So why I like it, because I can talk about it, because you haven't told me anything that would allude otherwise. I mean, obviously we know that Lee has said early on in interviews that this is a love letter to Mexico, so it makes sense that they're fully committing to it in this way. But the reason why I love it, because it took guts.
You're right about that.
That is a Steve Jobs move, and I'm not trying to give him credit for it, but...
Now, this is the biggest, because I do believe Finding Dory did open like a week before, or a couple days before in Russia.
Yeah, there was, like, the same week.
Yeah.
This is, like, 3.5 weeks.
This
or like
is the premiere.
Yes.
And that one, it wasn't. So,
exactly.
Technically, it would be like the second film.
Right, but again, it was so close on the other ones.
Yeah.
But you're right, that's a good point.
But this isn't going to have the whole, premiere. This is like a giant premiere.
So I think that's extremely interesting, and I love it because it's gutsy, it's bold, and to me, this is the kind of stuff that I love when companies do, because it shakes it up.
Yeah.
It makes people want it, because in the U.S. we're spoiled. We get all these movies first. Now people are going to look at this and be like, well, I want to see it. Why do they get to see it first? I know it makes total sense why they're doing it, and it's 1,000,000% not a marketing ploy. It's doing it purposefully to honor that culture, and when the Day of the Dead is. It's right before that. So I totally get it, but I love it.
Me too.
I'm jealous, but I love it. So of the books, jumping back to that real quick, are there any of them that you're really excited for? Because there's 3 of them that I'm excited for.
I was always the Little Golden Book, always the Art of book.
That's my number 1. Yep.
And the Family Tree one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. That's my number 2. It's called the Coco Guidebook, the essential guide to the family tree of Coco. We talked about this before, that I was going to have to make a family tree once we got some character artwork, that I could start making all these connections, because I'm like, who are all these people? And
there's a lot.
Yes, when you're saying all the names again and again and again, and you're going quickly, like I was like, who's what? Wait, where?
Yes.
Because especially in the trailers, you don't know them well enough yet. Once we get to, but I think that should be released I mean,
like now, so we can study up.
It's cool that it's going to be in the book, and I hope that it expands more on their backgrounds, but there needs to be like a promotional piece that's released that we can, like, you know, when they have like those family pages where it's like coloring pages and like the mazes and all those kind of things, there needs to be a promotional piece that's like, get introduced to the character here, the character family tree, here are all the connections, these are the people that you're going to love in the movie. I want to see that.
But yes, I am looking forward to that because there are lots of family members.
Yeah.
Lots of them.
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, it says it's a multi-generational family, and he's already got multiple generations alive with him.
Right, in the living world.
Right, so we know there's multiple generations in the land of the dead, too.
Right.
This is going to be so cool. I love big casts.
I know.
I love big casts.
I know. You talk about it all the time. I do, too. I can't say much more.
Cool.
Scared something's going to slip out.
Right. So that's Coco. We're thrilled. We're excited. It's always exciting when it's an original because you go in knowing nothing.
Yes.
It's just as exciting for me to be able to revisit Lightning McQueen and meet some of his new friends and characters too. I don't want to put anything against those, but it's exciting when you get to get a whole new world.
Exactly.
You just saw Aladdin today.
I did.
A whole new world. So, okay, let's finish it up right because we're going. It was a long one for just us talking. Usually we're at this length when we've got some interviews in here too. So let's talk about the forum real quick. So who was at SIGGRAPH? The reason I bring it up is we had a longtime follower of ours who's in the forum. He's actually only posted this first time in the forum, but he signed up a couple of years back. That he was at SIGGRAPH, and he says, listen, I need to talk about some hype of Smash and Grab. So who was there? So the people that are like our strong users haven't been there. So if you're listening to this and you were at SIGGRAPH, head to the forum. I'll put the link in the show notes again. It's under like general Pixar events, but again, if you just want to find it, it's just in the show notes. But yeah, definitely like share some feedback regarding Smash and Grab, which is the first short that came out of Pixar's experimental shorts program that they put through with some Pixarians that worked on it. So I'm very intrigued by this, and I want to know what this hype is.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I've obviously read some of it already, but I want to know what got him excited, what got Brian excited here. So let's start talking about it. Okay, so before we go, I'm just going to do one. It was a quick and easy one because I knew we were going to be longer with this conversation today for the Ask Pixar Post segment. So this one's from Mark Z, and he's got essentially 4 questions. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, where it's a this or that.
Okay.
So some of this is, you know, people wanting to get to know us. So again, if you have any questions, just either leave a reply on the comment for this, send us an email, info@pixarpost.com, hit us up on any of our social media channels, ask us a question, and just say that it's for the Ask Pixar Post segment, and we'll incorporate it in as long as it's an appropriate question. But it can be pretty much anything. So you'll see here some of the questions that he's even asking, and they don't all have to be this or that. We've had some crazy ones in there too. But so iPhone or Android?
Oh, iPhone.
Yeah, all the way. Okay? Yes, without a doubt. Streaming or Blu-ray?
Streaming all the way. 100%.
Yes. So I'm not 100%, but when I want the ultimate high quality, Blu-ray is still the best.
Yeah, I am. I've got to the point where it's like, oh, I have to put in a disc.
Oh, it's ridiculous because having to skip previews is a nightmare.
Yeah.
I own it. I do not need to watch the same preview for 10 years in a row.
Well, for me, it's just like I am spoiled now with streaming.
Mm-hmm. And having a kid, if you don't have streaming, you must, because they change their mind halfway through a movie, then they want to watch a new one.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I changed my... All fairness, he's able to just go back, pick a new one. We start going on again.
Yeah.
So, thin crust or deep dish pizza?
Thin crust.
And this is where we're totally opposite. I'm total deep dish.
Yeah. I'm thin crust, light sauce, pepperoni.
Now, I am not talking about deep dish Chicago style, because I'm sorry, Chicagoans.
Oh, but I do like Chicago style pizza, though.
Sauce on the top, no dice.
Yeah.
I need cheese on the top, because when that baby goes through the oven, I need that cheese to be brown on the top. And I'm not talking like fully brown, but like I need my bubblies to be brown.
Oh, I need cracker crust. Thin.
Yeah? Well, there you go. And my go-to is usually green pepper.
I like it greasy.
And I do like pineapple on my pizza. So if you like it greasy, then it would be deep dish. That would be mine, not your thin crust.
That's why I put pepperoni on it.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I don't do pepperoni. Woody or Buzz?
Oh man.
I know that is like a question that has gone around for a long time, and there's never a good answer. If you answer one way, you get angry at yourself for answering the other way. I'm gonna say Buzz though, because you know how much I love Buzz, and it's my favorite actor of all time is Tim Allen. Not my favorite actor, but one of my favorite comedians.
You mean?
Oh God, did I?
Yeah, you said Tim Allen.
Okay, is Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
My favorite actor of all time is Tom Hanks. There's like no question in my mind. There's nobody else that even comes close. And I love all of his stuff. And I accept him as Woody, even though I've seen him for years before that.
Right.
In a bunch of other movies.
Yes.
Tim Allen was a childhood hero of mine from his comedy specials, which I should not have been watching because they're absolutely inappropriate, to his work on Home Improvement, which we still watch those today. In fact, I think it was last weekend we watched another one. We own those on streaming as well. Love Tim Allen. The character of Buzz Lightyear, though, I can't deny. It hurts me to say it, but I say Buzz.
I think I say Buzz too.
Wow, I thought you would have said Woody.
I know. You know what? I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's never easy, is it?
Yeah, because my first instinct was to say Buzz, but then my gut is telling me Woody, so I'm very conflicted. I
know. Well, see, the thing is Buzz is so boisterous and out there, and he has this big arc where he comes around of having this sad thing where you realize he realizes he's not that he's not really a space ranger and he's just a toy. But then you've got Woody on the other side that's this ultimate he cares about everybody. He likewise has this big character arc of being he's on top, he's not on top, he's equally on top.
You know what's funny though? Okay, so Mike or Sully? It's an easier decision for
Mike.
Mike.
Yeah.
Mater or Lightning McQueen?
Lightning McQueen.
It's easier.
Yes. That's why they're called the dynamic duo.
Yeah, so it's just Wally or Eve.
Wally.
Yeah, so
no offense, he's got more screen time.
Nemo or Dory?
Nemo.
Oh, I say Dory.
No, you're right, Dory.
But you know what I mean? I feel
yeah,
it's easier. I mean, granted, they're not the pairs. It's just the two films.
Right.
Finding Dory, Finding Nemo.
I'm really thinking about this now. But I still say Buzz. I stand behind Buzz. Buzz is amazing. I love Buzz. Yeah. I'm looking at because we have the toys.
The life-size ones.
We have the Toy Story collection toys that we're looking at right now. And sorry, Woody. Sorry about that, buddy. Anyways, we digress. So that's the questions that we had. So that about wraps up this show. What do you think?
I think so.
All right. So be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, or subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcast. Did I screw that up? I felt like I screwed it up.
It sounded good.
Lastly, if you like today's show, let us know. I say it every time. Rate us on iTunes, leave us a comment on our site, or send us an email, info@pixarpost.com. And signing off as usual, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And be sure to stay tuned to pixarpost.com all week for the latest Pixar news. Bye-bye.